Ohio State is preparing for its second MAC game of the year. Tim May, the 41-year vet, Andy Backstrom, Spencer Holbrook here. We're here to talk about Ohio State Western Michigan after talking to Ryan Day, the head coach of the Buckeyes, Chip Kelly, the offensive coordinator, and quarterback Will Howard. Tim, what'd you learn? Well, first of all, housekeeping. Cody Simon and Donovan Jackson are both day-to-day.
Yeah.
Ryan Day declared them day-to-day. He said Saturday that as long as Donovan doesn't have any setbacks, he should be good to go this week. Still unclear on Cody Simon, but we'll see what happens. But right now they are day-to-day. Tim, what'd you learn?
I froze when you first came to me because
that's okay.
Like 50 things. But the thing I'll get to, number one, is 52-6. There's nothing to be ashamed about from a 52-6 victory any time of the day. Bottom line is what I learned is Ryan Day wants these guys, Will Howard and Chip Kelly, they all want to come out with a much faster start this week than a week ago, or that last week's game. I'm stammering for some reason. I don't know why.
That's okay.
I've got 100 thoughts in my brain. But the bottom line is, like I asked Chip Kelly, it's, he didn't really commit to this, but what I'm thinking is now you've seen you can see Western Michigan playing its defense for 2024 on video. They can change some things, but the basics are there, from the way they played Wisconsin. And the basics don't include much of like what the defense coordinator did at Louisiana Tech. So you got that going. You're scouting with some video of this year's defense. And I think it's really going to help this offense right out of the gate.
When you asked Chip Kelly, Spencer, about how would he assess his play calling from week one, feels like Chip Kelly's probably his harshest critic.
Yeah.
Because he was like, it was just okay. He wishes they executed better, especially at the beginning of the game, with the incompletions they had, but also the penalties they had procedurally. And it wasn't really until the second half that the offense hit its stride. So again, as Tim mentioned, there's this emphasis for getting off to a faster start because last year there was a lot of slow starts. You don't want to get in a bad habit of having those one roll into the next week and the next week. But as Chip Kelly said, the old adage is you make a big jump from game one to game two, and we often see that in football. So I think that's going to be what I'm looking for this week is how does this offense come out? Is there a 3-and-out when you start? Is there going to be an offense explosion in quarter one, or is there somewhere in between?
Yeah.
By the way, adages and cliches are those things because they actually are true.
Unless you're Florida State, who didn't take any sort of leap from game one to game two.
They have to be able to make a leap. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you said Florida.
No, Florida State. Back to the Buckeyes. I thought it was interesting, Chip Kelly's answer to me. I just wanted to know, Ryan Day was so effusive in his praise. I think he said it 3 different times. I thought Chip called a good game. So, what did you think, Chip? I think Chip Kelly is a little too hard on himself considering he dialed up like a perfect screenplay on the second play of the game.
True.
That should have been a touchdown. I don't want to harp on it too much with Jeremiah Smith because he ended up having 92 yards and 2 touchdowns. But, I think we're talking about a different game here if that happens on the second play of the game and you're up 7-0, pretty quickly. But you can't go back and redo that. Chip was pretty hard on himself. And then I asked Ryan Day about the inside guards, or I guess just the offensive guards for Ohio State, and if the run game was affected by having 2 first-time guards in there. And he was pretty adamant that, no, the standard is the standard at Ohio State. We're Ohio State. You need to be able to go out there and execute. And then he said, with that being said, and then he gave kind of his answer, but, they are holding themselves to a standard publicly and kind of acknowledging that standard that maybe we haven't heard from Ryan Day. And I think he is, in his own little ways, challenging this team to just be better and just continue to be better.
Makes total sense, number one. Number two, you're coming out of training camp, and if you're declared a starter for Ohio State, that means you have met the requisites that it takes to be a starter. And I go out there and play like one. Don't tell me your head's swimming. You're going to be seeing things you've never seen before because you're playing against another team instead of your own defense. But his point was that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
That may be your reason, but that's not an excuse. Go out there and hit somebody with your hair on fire. That's his credo for the year from the standpoint of the offensive line. And I thought the offensive line got off to a little bit of shaky start's not the right term, but if just one guy kind of whiffs, everybody looks bad. It's one of those kind of things. That's a cliche for a reason also. So the bottom line is I think he expected more right out of the gate, just like we did. I did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as that ball is in the air from Will Howard to Jeremiah Smith on that little, you want to call it a tunnel screen, whatever you want to call it, the inside cut, coming back to the quarterback, I'm thinking, because I immediately glanced upfield, it was going to be a touchdown. And when it isn't, it just kind of puts you in a little different frame of mind. I thought Will was a little bit off on his next throw, and then, like Chip Kelly said, it took him a while to get back in a rhythm, or to get a rhythm, to establish a rhythm with that offense. Once they did, it was pretty good. Like we've talked about a couple times already, 11 plays for 135 yards and 2 touchdowns on your 2 possessions in the third quarter. That's a pretty damn good third quarter.
Yeah, and the offense had 21 points in the second half. I thought that was good. The defense obviously had those 2 scores, so that kind of blew the game open. But
augmented.
It seemed like Will Howard is officially settled in now. He talked a bit about the routine that he's in now. He said that last week felt like an away game because he had never played in the Horseshoe. I don't think he'll have that same feeling. You just get the sense that they expect, Andy, to be a lot more crisp heading into this week than they were in the opener. And maybe we should have saw that coming because of the new parts. But I think we were all a little too excited for this team, and I think Ohio State was a little too excited about itself. There in the opening, and it kind of looked like it was taking a little bit to get going. I would expect a more crisp edition of the Buckeyes in week 2.
Well, Will Howard had made 27 starts in his career, but those were at Kansas State, and even though if you played, it's different in a new system.
Yeah.
That was talked about today too. So still an adjustment process for all the new guys, not only Will Howard, Quinshon Judkins, even like a Jeremiah Smith, who's still a freshman that we have to constantly remind ourselves that he's a first-year player. But there's adjustments across the board. But yeah, a week 2 game, again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. There is the schedule of it. You're actually in the season. It's not the preseason leading up, so I think that's different. But there was a lot of little details today that were interesting. One was about Austin Sareveld. The idea of Donovan Jackson coming back somewhat soon. If Donovan Jackson comes back, where does that leave Austin Sareveld? And Ryan Day said, he could still be in the mix, and I'm interested what that means. Does that mean they're going to try to rotate guys in still? Does that just mean they'll try to get him reps late in the game? I'm not sure, but definitely interested to see how that plays out, because they're looking to build this depth on the offensive line, and it's kind of different than in years past where you kind of you need to be more aware of who's going down and how much time you have left in the season, because this could be a long season.
Yeah, whatever could be, whatever Donovan Jackson's specific ailment is, which we don't know. I'm thinking Sareveld gives them the opportunity to rest Donovan Jackson, during games and stuff like that. When and if Donovan Jackson comes back, and whether Ryan was hinting that Sareveld might be possibly in the running for playing on the other side of the line, in that right guard spot, which I don't think is totally settled yet. But I think Tegra, the more video I watched of Tegra from Saturday, I think the better he looked for the most part in that game. But Carson Hinsman, man, I thought Carson Hinsman looked pretty good too, especially when they got him out running, on the edge and stuff. And there was one play, like Ryan alluded to, where they ran a little, basically it was a counter tray, whatever you want to call it, where they pulled guys to the left side, and I think it was 3 guys ended up not blocking anybody. 2 guys for sure ended up not blocking anybody. And so those are the kind of things those little fine lines that you can fix from game 1 to game 2 in that Cliché-ville, which can really help you. But Sareveld, I think, gives you now a guy who has started and played in depth-wise. He's not going to beat out Donovan Jackson.
No.
He kind of reminded me a little bit of what we saw from Malik Hartford last year against Youngstown State, where it was his first start and looks very big-eyed and looks a little nervous to start the game. And the difference is that Ohio State thought that it was worth it to get Malik Hartford out of there and put in a veteran safety, a more proven guy. Saturday, they told Austin Sareveld basically, in a sense, baptism by fire, buddy. You better get comfortable because you're playing. And as the game went on, Ohio State fans, I will say, have been quite critical of Austin Sareveld, but I thought I would be too. And then I woke up Sunday morning and I rewatched the game. I thought he was pretty damn good for his first career start, and I thought he showed a lot of promise.
Here's what people remember. People remember 1 or 2 plays where a guy, and that sets their agenda for the rest of the Twitter.
Yeah, no, I'm not just talking about Twitter, Tim. I'm like,
I know what you're talking about. They were calling you. What were they doing? I
thought that he looked rough on the first watch.
Yeah,
and on the second watch, I saw it from maybe a different lens, maybe just a different mindset. Maybe I was just less hungry when I watched it and I wasn't feeling as angry about anything. But whatever it was, I thought, you know what? I thought he looked pretty decent. And Ryan Day confirmed that in there because he said he played at a starter level for Ohio State. And I think that's noteworthy because if he's playing at a starter level, you don't just want to ship him back to the bench, but you also understand that you got to find the best 5. And I thought Tegro was pretty good on the right side for most of the day.
Yeah.
Carson Hinsman only took 10 snaps there, so like I don't know how much of a sample size that is to truly evaluate. But like I think they're in a pretty decent spot here on the offensive line, and overall, I've been saying it since Saturday, I think the offensive line was much closer in the run game than maybe we thought, again, there on the first watch.
Well, they need to be. I mean, like they want to be more explosive. They also need that depth, as you mentioned. Austin Sareveld, Carson Hinsman, Tegro Shabola, that's all in the interior. Austin Sareveld can also play tackle too, but it's all about building depth at this point in the season across the board. Alvaro Reese also factors in, and Ryan Day talked about him, said that the way he played on Saturday, he deserves more reps. I think that's interesting going forward. Just monitoring this linebacker situation, I think it was all a little bit them being thrown in the fire, whether it's Sonny Styles playing the Mike position without Cody Simon, whether it's Arvell Reese getting his first meaningful defensive snaps, CJ Hicks really getting his first taste of like a starter level action. So I think that's going to be cool to kind of monitor and see like where is Arvell in this mix in the rotation when Cody does return, because it seems like this staff is increasingly high on Arvell Reese.
I would agree with that. I think you're going to see more of number 20 out there for defense.
I mean, now it's not a joke. I mean, he really, his rise in preseason camp looked real. I mean, now they've got some video. You can go back and look at him playing, and when the head coach praises your just pure effort, you know, that's good. That's good for you. Down the road. And then defensively, of course, Sonny Styles making his first start at Mike linebacker when we expect him to make his first start at the will. A week ago when we were standing here before we got news that Cody Simon wasn't going to play, I thought C.J. Hicks played very well, and I thought his early sack where he came and just kind of ran over a guy and got to the quarterback, I thought that was sort of a turning point for the defense and the game to a certain extent. I thought the game kind of tilted from that moment on. I'm talking about C.J. Hicks delivering not just a tackle for loss or a sack, but a play that kind of tilted the game. That's what they were talking about him being able to do. James Laurinaitis, the linebackers coach, and Jim Knowles, and I thought that was on display on Saturday too. I mean, not that it went like that, but it went kind of like this from that point on.
Yeah, I thought that he was good in those 3 pass rush reps that he took. I thought he struggled at times in coverage and against the run, but there's always room for improvement. Obviously, he's got some stuff on film now from playing starter level minutes, like you said. The other thing, and I'm going to get us out of here, but it is interesting how much Ryan Day is talking about kickoff and punt return. Like, they are adamant that special teams is going to be good. He was not happy when he was asked, what's something that you guys should have improved on. He was not happy about the opening kick return. He said we could have had an explosive off of that, or whatever the verbiage he said was. But like,
go back and watch it. It was there.
They felt like they could have housed the opening kickoff, and they didn't. And he was not happy about it. But he was very pleased with what Brandon Ennis did in punt return. But they'll continue to get better on that. Special teams looks like it's already on the rise under new leadership there. That's all the time we have for now, though, because I'm going to get us out. That's
the benefit of your head coach
being involved
and not necessarily being the play caller and so involved with the offensive side of the ball. He can see things now that he probably noticed last year or the last several years, but didn't have the time or whatever to take care of it. And we all know the big change they made from a special team standpoint of dividing the duties instead of having one guy in charge. And you can see he's very excited about where that aspect of the game can go. Whereas probably this time last year, he was so much concerned about the quarterback play and the offense, especially coming out of the opener when they left so many things on the table offensively. Now you've got a veteran quarterback running the thing who self-corrected as the game went on, got bold instead of like getting timid. If you follow my drift, I'm gonna write about that because to me that was an interesting aspect of having a guy who started 27 or 28 games, no matter where it was and what offense it was in. He self-corrected and got his act going. But now you got Ryan Day roaming the bench, not just getting the play calls ready for the next offensive series.
I completely agree, Tim. And you'll have that story.
I didn't mean to jump in so
No,
hard.
you're okay. You got anything before we get out of here?
I'll just say tight ends. I think that's a continued conversation. Ryan Day said that they're rolling the guys right now, but he expects more production. from that group going forward. I don't know if that production is receiving production or just more good blocking. He did say he liked what he saw from the blocking aspect of those guys. Two of them graded out as champions. He didn't specify which ones they were, but you get the sense that one was Will Kacmarek, because he did shout out Will Kacmarek unprompted for a pancake block he had at one point in that game. But it's interesting that the tight end group, it's kind of been a big question mark this year of how much they would be involved. But as we talked about before, Chip Kelly uses tight ends a lot at UCLA, so that production, I don't know what that looks like in the packages as we go forward, but something to keep tabs on.
And didn't Jelani Thurman play more than you thought, maybe?
Yeah,
that's a major development.
That's what I was going to end the video on. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the second champion was Jelani, because he said in there that Jelani it was a big day for Jelani.
Yeah.
And that it was a big opportunity for him to push himself forward, and I think he did that in certain aspects. I think he's still got a long ways to go in his development, and Ohio State continuing to challenge him in there and telling him to keep pressing, and I think he's on his way. We're on our way over to LettermenRow.com to write a lot of content based on what we just heard from Ryan Day and Chip Kelly and Will Howard. That's the 41-year vet Tim May. That's Andy Backstrom. I'm Spencer Holbrook. Go to LettermenRow.com right now. Come join the fun. Become a member at Lettermen Row. Subscribe below to the YouTube channel. Grow the YouTube channel. That really helps us. Make sure to like the video underneath. Throw a comment in there. I'm trying to be more active on YouTube comments. I'm really trying to be more active on the Lettermen Lounge message board. We'll see you guys over there. We'll see you at LettermenRow.com. We'll see you back in here Wednesday night for more coverage of the Buckeyes as they prepare for a primetime tilt against Western Michigan.